I didn't know. Too late.
Yeah, too late. We're doing it.
Those
First,
bites
the
are so
intro.
horrible.
By the way, do you guys hear an echo of anything?
No.
You meant to ask that before you go live.
I didn't realize it until like a second ago. I don't have my headset on, and my sound is coming through my speakers, and I was wondering if my mic was picking up any of that and throwing it back at you guys.
You're good.
Okay, well that's fine then. Welcome back to the Force Collective. We got a doozy of a show today. we technically started the show like 10 minutes early. Well, actually, I want to say me and Chrono started the show about 30 to 40 minutes early. Not 30 minutes early. We've been talking behind the scenes, and well, we got so tired of just talking about it to ourselves that we had to just go ahead and start the show because this discussion was just going to get so heated, like it was almost as if we were already in the show. We might as well just start. Anyways, I'm here with Chrono, Commander Tano, and Sir AOA as always. And we're going to be discussing the last two episodes of the Book of Boba Fett. But first, before I do that, I got to tell you guys, like, for the first stream of the year, which shouldn't be this way, it should have been last Thursday. I've had a rough time over those few days, and I gotta tell you, like this, I gotta tell you a story. Now, earlier that week, I want to say it was Monday of that week, I nearly got hit by a tornado, and for whatever reason, tornadoes have been very common down here during December, and then now in January. So
what were you doing standing in front of the tornado?
I'm at my job, and this is like 6 a.m. For whatever reason. I don't understand. I was going to work, and I noticed how calm it was outside. Not to mention how dark it was. It was like really off for me. The moment I walked outside, I was looking outside. I was like, "There's something off about this. I don't know what it is, but there is something off about today." And I drive on up into town and all that stuff, and I'm just like noticing how off everything looks because it seemed like it was darker. I'm like, wow, what is going on? The power's not out, but it is much darker than usual. Well, come to find out, not like probably 30 minutes into my shift, they locked down the whole store and they lock the doors. They make us go like towards the back of the store and tell us that there was a tornado about to touch down behind our store. I seen and like they mentioned it before they locked the door, so I went outside before they locked it, and I looked up and I seen like the darkest clouds I'd ever seen, and I was looking up there and it felt so calm outside. I'm like, am I going to die like at the very beginning of the year? Is this how it's going to go? And then I end up going back in and, getting where they told us to, for safety and all that stuff. And that's when they tell us that the funnel cloud was like behind our store. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, why does it have to be today? Why today? Why at the beginning of the year? Why a tornado in January? And then apparently it decided it didn't want to touch down, and it went off somewhere. And I guess it never touched down ever again, but it was really close from what I've heard. So that's how my week started. And then Thursday it decided it wanted to snow. Now that was a fun like weekend for me.
To be fair, that would have been a hell of an obituary. Killed by a tornado.
we would have streamed Thursday. We would have streamed, but I was stuck at my grandmother's house for a while. My vehicle, I couldn't get it to my home because a guy I work with is like, "Oh, it ain't gonna do nothing." He told me to wait until the snow starts sticking outside. I told him, "You know what I drive? My vehicle is rear wheel drive. If it starts sticking, I ain't getting home." And that's exactly what happened because he went off somewhere and I couldn't leave my position until somebody took over. So I got stuck there till 12:41 that morning, or well, that was afternoon. Um, and I left at 12:41, and I didn't even make it home. I had to go to my grandmother's house, which was much closer to my job, and I had to wait there for my dad to get off his job. He has a 4-wheel drive vehicle, so he was able to get me home. And ever since that, like I had been out there working on snow, like getting it off the road, not our road, but our driveways and my sister's driveway because her vehicle couldn't get back up her driveway when she tried to get back up. It was a whole day full of just messing with snow. I love snow, but I hate it when it gets on the road. And the ice on the road was insane afterward. Like it was thick. It didn't go away the first day. It took about 3 days for the ice to finally go away. And it's just been a week. So that's why I didn't stream Thursday. I figured I might as well just save it for this Thursday, today, that is. And yeah, that's how things have went for me recently. Yeah, that was fun. But now we're here. I didn't die to the tornado. I didn't crash on ice, though I probably was really close to it a couple times. But yeah, I'm alive. Did you guys make it through all that? I know there was like a lot of snow, but I don't know if you guys got it. Well, I'm pretty sure Sir AOA didn't get any snow.
Thank God.
I don't know. It could just be Kentucky weather.
We don't get snow in Melbourne, which I'm really glad about because I hate snow. Almost probably as much as Shade hates sand.
Yeah, I hate it.
No, but then again, in January, well, if it snowed in December or January in Melbourne, climate change has really gone crazy.
Yeah.
And I think the world is screwed because generally December and especially the beginning of January, that's generally our hottest days, and we've had a few 34s. I think we even had a 37-degree-Celsius day. I can't remember what that is in American temperature. But let's just say it's hot.
Well, I guess you're lucky on that one, at least for the last few days, because apparently there's another snowstorm coming too. We had like 11 inches of snow where we were, and then apparently this one now. I don't know if it's going to hit where I'm at specifically, but I heard it's going to be like 9 more inches of snow, and I'm like, I don't want to do that again. I love snow, but I don't like it when it's on the road, and if it freezes like it did last time, I can't miss work again. Not fun. I mean, it was
consider
fun.
getting a tauntaun.
Huh?
You should consider getting a tauntaun.
Tauntaun? Yeah, a tauntaun would be more reliable in the snow, unless it gets like way below freezing, then it might die on me. But, anyways, hopefully you guys didn't have much issue with weather besides Sir AOA. We know he didn't have snow, but he did have heat, so that's a thing. But we're all here, and we're ready to talk about the book of Boba Fett. We were ready before the stream even got started. It these last couple episodes are interesting for many different reasons. I've enjoyed them for the most part, but the more I've talked about it, the more I realize things, and I'm like, oh wow, okay. That's something to be discussed. But before we get one more thing before we get into the discussion, I'd say the sponsor team might have a word for us, so I'll hand it over to them.
Thanks, Shade. Today's sponsor for the Force Collective is Tuscan Lizard Guides. From the June sand seas, let the lizards jump up your nose and help you find a stick. Let the lizards also help you with your daddy and abandonment issues. With the added bonus of giving you such a trip, you'll never touch spice again. Don't worry, they won't defecate on your brain. Tuscan Lizard Guides for when you need to find a stick. Back to you, Shade.
I need a stick. Where can I get one of those lizard gods? That would be pretty sick, but it'd also probably be very uncomfortable. At least that's what it looked like. That part was, I was thinking that there was going to be like this big journey for something amazing, and then it just ends up being a stick. Which I mean,
to be fair, it does really fit with the Tuscans.
Oh yeah, no, I completely agree with that.
It did work, and as much as much as it was kind of a little bit funny that it's just sort of like, you're having a spirit quest to find a stick. It does really sort of you kind of can see it.
Yeah, I like how they've expanded on them a little bit. Gave us a little bit of the culture.
But I mean, it does actually also epitomize the absolute problem with the Book of Boba Fett. In the fact that, frankly, episode 2 was as well crafted as what are those things called again? Garfy sticks or whatever?
Yes.
Yep.
The episode 2 was so well crafted that I was sort of like going, that's it. Yep. Cool. I'm in. Let's go. Storyline, the story might be a little bit iffy, but damn, the world lore or the world building of episode 2 was just, I'm all in.
Episode 2 was
and then episode 3 comes out, and it's like, fuck.
Well, let's first talk about episode 2, and then we'll go into episode 3. Let's go in chronological order here, okay? The thing about episode 3, though, is that it'll be probably the more fun one to talk about once we actually get talking about it, because we seem to have a lot of fun ranting about things,
We should start there because Commander Tano has to leave, and
That's
I really
true.
want to know what she thinks about episode 3.
Okay, you know what we'll do? Since she has to leave pretty soon, we'll let her have the floor for the moment, discussing what she likes and dislikes about both episodes 2 and 3. So go ahead, Commander Tano. Give us your thoughts on both of those episodes.
Be right back, guys.
I mean, I think we're all going to kind of fall along these lines. Episode 2 was really good, and it was and my reaction was kind of similar to Soraya Way. I was like, you know what? Like, it's not like the show, it isn't perfect yet, but I buy it. I'm in. this is working now. It just got a little bit of a rough start, and this will work. And I know I asked this earlier, and I'm just too lazy to look it up. I was asking, is this like with The Mandalorian, where you have episodes being directed by different people, and more importantly, who's been doing the writing for each of these episodes? Because I feel like when we jumped into episode 3, and once again, there was stuff in episode 3 that I like too. It's like I tend to. It's like I feel like the better stuff, scenes, writing, and just design, it's all kind of the Sand People arc. But then when you get to this, it's like you have two different production crews. One's working on kind of the flashbacks, the Sand People, the little bits of the Camino stuff. Some people are working on that, and the other people are working on kind of the present day Tatooine stuff. Because I just feel like they're too. I hope that this is the that we don't see too much more of those. I don't know what it is. Those kids with the bikes. They don't. Those characters. They belong in a different franchise. It's like whoever was the set. It was like whoever was the set and costume designer for these things. It's like they just got drunk, and then we got or something, and then we got that, and I just don't understand. It's like if they belong anywhere in Star Wars, and I don't think it's like they belong
Manto Bite.
Yes.
Actually, no. I was personally thinking either Coruscant or Alderaan before it got blown up, but it got
and even then
up,
it's like the kids they just look too much like people, like just people I'd see out on the street, with how they're dressed, how they're their hair. Also here's the other thing. The two things that I wish I could take a magic wand and change elements of the design like that are just not congruous with everything else. The other part is some of the dialogue, and it's usually in the present day Tatooine scenes where it just feels like, okay, this is how people here in 21st century America talk. But it's like there's something off where it doesn't feel like it belongs in that world. Especially the bits like where, whenever Boba and Fennec go over to that mayor's place and the mayor's assistant, it's like all that dialogue. It's like there's both too much of it, and it's too of our world, and I feel like I'm being brought here. Like whereas what I want is escapism, so I feel like I'm somewhere else, and I'm not getting that. And so I think it's a combo of it being too much, and there's just something about. And maybe I ought to find a way to, if there was a script, I wish I could just read it out and just there's something about the vocabulary and the syntax. It just doesn't fit. There's something off, and. Yeah, I can't identify it yet, but I'm sure someone, you could write a whole dissertation on this about just how this doesn't quite fit. So yeah, those are the two main things, and this is really frustrating because they're the people doing the show are clearly capable of doing a really good job, because there are parts of this that it's like, oh, this is excellent. Like, why can't it all be like this? Why did you have to? It's like when we were talking about before we started with the whole little train chase. That was great. It's like, how'd you go from that to the little, colorful bike chase through? It was just so goofy.
Power Ranger.
How do those two things happen in the same show? How does that happen? And it's weird because, in every kind of series there's always that one or two episodes where it's like, no one really liked that as much. That's filler, that didn't fit in or whatever, and people just kind of, laugh it off, and they're like, overall but it didn't it didn't drag, it doesn't drag the series down, but I'm really worried that we're going to have more of this that's just kind of going to weigh this down. I feel like, as I said, I feel like I'm watching two different shows. One's really good, and the other is it just feels off. It's like I see that, okay, you're in Tatooine, you've got Star Wars characters, but it just doesn't feel quite right, and it's because of some of the visual design choices, and some of the dialogue, and and so that I'm sure that's why I need to look up who's been doing the writing for this, because it's really distracting.
See, that's what bugged me too, was that speeder chase. It's just a bunch of kids on power wheels chasing the kid on a slightly bigger power wheel. That's really what it felt like.
And it was all made pointless by Boba Fett showing up in the jetpack. I mean, like, you couldn't do that before.
I was expecting him to be like there in the chase, flying above them, and as fast as he showed up after that one lady, like whatever, and I think Cassie is what her name is. After she does something to that guy's vehicle, he literally shows up like not even hardly a second afterward, after the guy crashes. It's as if Boba had been chasing, but you never seen him. So I'm just thinking, like, why didn't they have him in the chase?
They've let Boba Fett do more with a gaffy stick than they've let him do with the suit.
Yeah, that is so true.
And that's what's so weird. It's two different shows. It's like I'm kind of convinced that they've got an entirely different set of people writing and directing the flashbacks, and the people writing and directing the present day stuff.
See, I want to see him actually shoot his blaster. It's literally there just for show at this point. The only one shooting, I think, is the gang kids and Fennec. I don't think, now correct me if I'm wrong, I've only watched these episodes once so far, but I don't think Boba has fired his weapon once.
No,
I don't think so.
Hasn't.
Yeah.
The rocket launcher assassin shot.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh yeah, well no, I'm talking about his I think it's an E11, whatever it is in Star Wars lore. His famous weapon that he carries around, not his little wrist rocket thing. But he did do the wrist rocket. I'll give him that, but he's barely used any of his suit's features at all. And I want to see him actually use all his equipment to his advantage instead of getting like thrown around like a rag doll.
Another thing too, I'd love to once again, I'm sure these numbers are out there and I'm just too lazy to look them up. I'm curious just in general the budget for all of this, and comparing that to whatever money they sank into The Mandalorian. And it's just because I feel like it's like they're kind of like just with the show kind of half trying, to make it good, because it's actually another interesting thing. This is kind of random, but I thought about this actually. So when I was at Disney World last week, one thing, and this is somewhat related, one thing that I found really interesting, and as I had tweeted, it's harder to find Star Wars merchandise in any of the parks. But one thing I had kind of what I would have expected, so if this Boba Fett show had been done back in kind of the honeymoon phase when Disney had just bought Lucasfilm, and maybe like around when they just released The Force Awakens, and most fan base were all still pretty happy and all that, and they were trying to
Still happy.
Yeah, I'm trying to avoid using expletives, but it's like they're trying to sell as much. Disney was trying to milk this franchise dry. They were selling Star Wars stuff everywhere. If this show had been produced in that era, I can't believe I'm calling it an era. It sounds so long ago, but back in that era, kind of that honeymoon era, when Disney just got Star Wars and it was all good and people were happy. I feel like we would have seen like merchandise from the show everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Just like, you know, that's how it used to be. I saw only just one Boba Fett shirt. That was it. When I went to, this is looking at multiple parks. It's just harder to find Star Wars stuff, and it's almost like they're kind of. It's interesting how Disney's kind of, they just don't seem to be as interested in.
They don't seem to care about the merchandising.
Yeah, or selling this at all. They're just kind of like, it's like just kind of I worry now that they're just going to start churning out content now. Is just kind of an obligatory. Oh, well, we've got this franchise, so let's see if we can get a few bucks out of this, and
And that's sort of what this show feels like. It's like, well, everybody wants Boba Fett, and they're not going to be happy unless they get it. So here you go.
Yeah, it's just, that's such a shame too, because there's, like I said, there's stuff in this show so far that I think we've all enjoyed. It just seems just to be such a wasted opportunity. I'm curious if this is just going to be kind of a one-off, that you just have however many episodes they're supposed to be in this and that's it, or if they're going to have a second season. But yeah, Disney seems to have other priorities besides Star Wars, and that was the same thing too. Also of Marvel, it wasn't as, I found it easier to see Marvel stuff than Star Wars stuff, but still, there's less of it. There's a lot more of just kind of, Disney stuff. I know that doesn't make any sense, but you get what I mean. But yeah, that I think, I don't. I remember back when was it, like when whoever said like, we're dealing with Star Wars fatigue, like people didn't.
That was right after Solo, I think, when
Yeah.
Solo failed in the box office. Like,
Yeah, it was
majorly underperformed. Like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, Star Wars fatigue. That's what it is. Star Wars fatigue.
And I saw that repeated after Rise of Skywalker too, sort of, Star Wars fatigue, that's it. And it's like, I think almost Disney itself is having Star Wars fatigue, and I don't think necessarily that audiences have that. I think it's more of, at this point, I think they've got Star Wars. It's worse than fatigue. Fatigue is if you're saturated with lots of content and you're just tired of it. It's more, I don't think that's it. I think it's more of, at this point, just Star Wars apathy. Like I said, I literally, even though I really enjoyed, particularly episode 2, like I enjoyed a lot of what I watched. If you just got rid of the Rainbow Bike Gang, like I'm good.
Power Rangers.
Yeah.
Power Rangers.
Yeah, so if you just got rid of the Power Rangers, like that, it's good. But like I said, it's like I waited like a couple weeks to watch them both. Ordinarily I would have been like, as soon as those things, those episodes show up in the queue, I'd be like, oh yeah, watch it. But yeah, I think I'm just feeling kind of apathetic, and that's kind of sad, but I don't know. I hope that I hope the Power Rangers, I hope that's all that we get of them. But I'm worried or not.
Well, if they do them right, then I say go ahead and bring them back. But please change their speeder colors, please.
And even and it's what's so sad about all of this is it's like it's almost the Power Rangers. It's almost making me nostalgic for Rose Tico, and like
Oh, jeez.
it's like, you know, like it's almost making me nostalgic for Admiral Holdo. Like it's just like
Oh Lord.
I'm that they it was just so distracting. So distracting. Like they just did not, they belong in a different franchise. They didn't belong there.
Yep.
Ugh.
I completely see. The first thing that came up in my head when I seen them, especially I want to say, who was it? The guy with the eye implant thing and the leg thing they had going on. That guy reminded me of that villain on Alita Battle Angel, and it's, I don't know why, but I mean the whole thing reminded me of Alita Battle Angel, the live action movie. Not
Jeez, I wonder why.
Hey, I mean, it's a cool concept. I like what they were trying to go for, but it feels like it didn't fit, and it might just be their aesthetic more than actually them being there. Because gangs and stuff like that would make sense in a place like Tatooine, but
Yes.
they feel too cyberpunkish. Does
Yep.
that make sense?
Spot
Because
on.
Yeah,
Star
you're
Wars
right.
Star Wars isn't a cyberpunk type thing. It's a it's got like a mixture of futuristic and older type of styles all mixed together. It's not all like cyberpunk 2077 or just anything related to that Alita Battle Angel, anything that futuristic.
I mean, the
It
thing
ain't
is
that.
though, the thing is that the concept of the game makes sense in a Star Wars thing. The problem was, or what the problem is just essentially costuming.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It droid parts, cool. I mean, her arm, hang on, was it Cass? Was that the
Cassie, I
character's
think.
name?
Cassie, one of the two.
But I mean, her droid arm looked fine. The guy with the eye, fine. It was just everything else.
They looked like they were wearing brand new clothes.
Yeah.
Yes.
If you had had them in funny enough, if you had them all in clothing a lot more like Cass, or even the Raiders from last episode, if you had them in clothing like that and had them riding speeders like colored like oh god, I'm gonna have to bring this up, like Rey's speeder in Force Awakens. They were colored like that,
a little more matte and a little less shine.
Yeah, absolutely, no issue. But with the way they looked now, it makes absolutely no sense, and especially how they're introduced in the story. They're meant to be so poor that they have to steal water,
which is sold at an outrageous price of 13,000 credit.
and yet they're essentially riding around in like brand new looking clothes, in shiny brand new.
That's why they have to steal water.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess a legitimate argument to why they have nice new clothes or those boxes that they stole them, but at the same time, where would they steal them from? This is Tatooine.
Yeah, exactly. And then you come up with another problem of where are they getting the money to essentially cut off limbs to bloody put droid parts.
I feel like
That's why they have to steal water.
that's why they have to steal water. I feel like they were implying that they did it themselves, but then again, I don't know. I have to watch it again.
Then how are they having trouble finding work? Because I mean, that's
true.
That's a pretty damn good.
They did really good if they did it themselves. Yeah.
Maybe they looked up holotube.
Holotube. That's a good one. I mean, maybe I'm wrong about that. For some reason, I felt like they were implying that they had done it themselves. But then again, they're probably it's probably like Alita. I'm going to reference Alita Battle Angel a lot because now I'm seeing a ton of similarities between all that. These people are replacing their body parts with cybernetic parts to enhance themselves, just like in Alita Battle Angel. And not only that, but they're going around and, I guess there's a lot of, I think there's some characters that do this in the movie too. Yeah, they're like these jackers and stuff like that. They go around and hijack people for their cybernetics. Not because most everybody is cybernetically enhanced at in Alita Battle Angel, but they remind me of those people from that movie, the ones that go around and hijack everybody. And I don't know. That's what I get from it. And now that I see it, I sort of like, yeah, I hope they change that in the future episode. Maybe give them some sort of uniform, Boba. Come on. They work for you. Give them a uniform or something. I don't know. Give them something that makes them a little more rugged. I mean, because if the best those speeders can do in that speeder chase is go 20 miles an hour, I think they need an upgrade. They're there for looks, not for speed, apparently. I mean, it was unfortunately that chase was a little laughable. I was just like, man, these guys are going so slow, and he's going slow, and he's in a bigger speeder. You'd think that he would be going much faster. I don't know.
It's kind of a little bit funny, if they really wanted to make them dress that way and look that way, why not have them look absolutely grungy when Boba Fett first meets them, and Boba Fett is the one that gives them the fancy threads?
Yeah.
He's got the cash. Or if they really wanted to make those speeder bikes look like something from the Power Rangers, have them look really grungy when Boba Fett first meets them, and have Boba Fett make them look like an absolute eyesore. But
well, it would have mmade more sense though that way, and
absolutely.
We probably wouldn't be here complaining as much about it.
Probably. It's just it's just crazy.
I mean, I don't hate what I've seen so far, but I do not completely like everything either. I think like the aesthetic for the Tusken Raiders, the tribe that he was with, was amazing. I like that they're not all just that weird sandy colored robes. They actually had a variation in their robe colors and stuff like that, and making them a lot like, I guess, maybe I'm wrong, but sort of like Native American tribes and stuff like that. They sort of maybe base them off of that a little bit. I could be wrong about that, they might have had a bunch of things they tried to base it from. That's what I'm getting from it. It reminds me of a Native American tribe, the way they do things. But at the same time, I like that little bit of world building that we're getting and actually learning about the Tuscans instead of seeing them as like this constant threat that hang around the pod racing racetracks that want to kill all the pod racers as they drive by.
Yeah.
It brings a whole new meaning to drive-by shooting, I guess you can say. Because the ones that are driving by are the ones getting shot at. Okay, that was my bit of dark humor for the day.
Hang on, isn't that the entire stream?
Oh, sorry. I almost forgot.
like,
I almost forgot. Dark humor. It has to happen once, at least once.
At least once.
But to be completely honest, is it really ever just once?
No.
No.
I didn't think so. Anyways, so back to talking about all that. Let's talk about maybe some of the good things from the third episode, since we have talked a lot of negatives. Let's take a little bit of positive out of this, and talk about how they can maybe change for the next few episodes, which they probably already shot the next few episodes fully.
Well, of course they've already shot it.
So there's no way we can change it, but maybe because I want there to be a season 2. Because season 2 gives them a lot of room to change how the show works, especially due to how they get feedback and all that stuff. So
But they never listen to the feedback.
Huh?
But they never listen to that feedback.
Well, there might be that one person that is out there that's like, you know what? Feedback is important, especially the feedback from the people that are actually, watching it, and not just for these corporate people that are like, oh yeah, that fits the agenda. Let's throw that out there. Oh, it's hated? Who cares? It fits the agenda. So,
I do have to sort of one more point of negativity before we get into the positives.
of course.
The Tuscan bloody raiders getting wiped out by those bloody
hurt.
biking. What the hell?
Yeah, that
hurt. I was sad.
This is the same Tuscan raider tribe that took out a bloody train.
Well, thanks to Boba Fett.
Somehow can get wiped out by six people on what? Speeders, because the speeders were stolen. It's really weird to sort of go, oh well, you need protection from the Tuscan Raiders, but they get wiped out by 6 guys on foot.
I guess.
Like I said, it's like there are two different. I don't know. It's like you've got different groups of people, like in a tug of war with this series. Like it's like yeah, and it's the same thing with where it's like like I said, they let Boba do a whole lot more with a gaffy stick than they've let him do with his suit. It's weird.
Maybe they need to get the director from episode 2 and have them do the entire.
I feel like they really should stick with one director per show, and maybe have different directors doing each show. They don't have to do like 100 different directors in one show. I mean, I think it worked for The Mandalorian because they were just testing it out.
From what I've seen. Robert Rodriguez is the main director for the Book of Boba Fett. And you do have just a few people subbing in for a few episodes type situation. but
Yeah.
he's the main.
Who's the writer for this?
John Favreau.
Yeah,
John
you can
Favreau.
see in the chat.
All of them.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It doesn't feel like one person, as you say. It feels like some different groups of people are contributing and doing whatever they want with this and that. But it seems, according to Wikipedia, it's all him.
Yeah, no. I mean, the one thing you need to remember is that, when you sort of write a script, it's just a document. It's not a comic book.
Nope.
You don't write a comic book, so there's no visuals for the directors to sort of go off. The directors then do the visual interpretation. So
yeah, and my question is not so much related to that as, like I mentioned earlier, the other thing where it's like kind of the visuals are incongruous in this series. With all of the Tusken Raider stuff, it's excellent, and then you get those bikes. It's also just there's also just the like I said, this issue I've got with the dialogue where there are parts in kind of the present day story. The dialogue, it just feels off. And it feels like, okay, these are just some people talking, like I could go walk out on the street and hear people talking the same way that they're talking in some of those scenes.
I wanted him to die.
Who?
I think you know who I'm talking about.
Oh, he should have died in the very first scene.
He really should have. The way he was speaking all automatically told me that, hey, this really don't feel right for Star Wars.
That is, yes.
I mean, the thing is that, okay, he might not have been needed to be killed the first episode, but walking out with a blaster bolt in his shoulder or something.
That would have been nice. I mean, the way he was speaking with Boba Fett, the way he treats Boba Fett in general is firstly disrespectful to the character. Second of all, it just don't feel right for Boba to let this guy persist. I mean,
and I mean the thing is that you can have a sort of crime law that does everything on respect.
Mm-hmm.
But there is also a point where you need to grab your blaster and blast some people.
Well, he's not done that yet, unfortunately.
And I mean the thing is that in those scenes with the assistant, the assistant probably should have been dead second episode.
He really should have. I mean, not only that, but he's from Ryloth. He should have an accent that fits his people, I mean, I get it, like certain characters like Hera, her accent sort of started going away, but at certain points in Rebels, probably I think one or two times, her accent did change back to her,
that
more.
Is true.
Yeah, this guy has some weird accent thing going on. He doesn't have the kind of accent that you would expect from somebody from Ryloth. No, he talks so weird. He's like, yeah, yes, but no, that kind of.
Yeah, but I mean the thing is that it is definitely something that is based on sort of where you grew up, not so much where your people are from, type situation. I mean, that's
true.
There's I can't remember.
I just feel like
his parents were American, but I think he grew up in China, or it's either China, Korea, or Japan. I cannot remember. He pretty much grew up speaking the language of the country essentially he was born from, not from where his parents were. So, of course, he has an accent, not an American accent, an accent of either China, Japan, or Korea. I just can't remember which country it was from.
Well, yeah, that makes
So
sense.
but yeah, he completely has an accent from those countries. So when he actually speaks English, he has an English accent from those countries, not the country that his parents are born from.
Yeah.
So without knowing the assistants, Hera was from Ryloth. You know, that was where she was born. That's where she mostly grew up from. By the time we see her in the first episode of Rebels, she's probably been around enough to have lost the accent. But of course, there would be times when it would come back or sneak back in. That's just how that works when it comes to accents.
Yeah.
But the assistant could have been grown up in Tatooine, so his accent would be similar to Tatooine than Ryloth.
I get that, but at the same time, I don't like it.
Hey, yeah, I can't.
It don't work for him. It really don't. It don't work for the show itself either.
That's another point. The aliens have been
Be right back.
Okay.
aliens have been so inconsistent the whole show. I mean, what you say about the speech, the costumes. I don't know. It's like they don't really pay attention to these details, or they don't care. I don't know.
Well, I'm hoping it's just an issue with these first 3 episodes because honestly, I mean, I don't want it to go through this entire show. And I feel like if this show does start picking up for the better, and then season 2 comes around, maybe they'll put more effort into it. I don't know. I'm right now sort of torn apart, I don't know what to think exactly. I'm enjoying most of it, but at the same time, I'm just thinking of some of these problems that we've been discussing, and I'm thinking I really wish that it was maybe this way or that way because that assistant dude really bugs me, and I wish he would die.
Actually, that might mean that he's actually a really effective character. Everyone
that
just
might
wants
be
him
it.
to
Maybe that's what
die.
he's meant to be. That might be what he's meant to be. I mean, if that's true, then yes, they've written his character really well. But there's another example, and this one's in The Mandalorian, of aliens that don't feel like they belong in Star Wars when it comes to their accents, or just the way they speak. That is. That would be the first alien bounty that the Mandalorian picks up. The blue guy with the, I mean, I don't know what he is, but you know who I'm talking about. The first bounty. Yeah, he had a weird way of speaking as well, and a lot of people felt. I heard somebody say that it felt more like an alien from Star Trek rather than an alien from Star Wars. I don't know if you guys get that same feeling, but I do.
I get what you're, and what's weird is I get what you're saying, but for some reason I didn't have a problem with that, whereas I do with what we've got going on in Boba Fett. I'm trying to think of why.
Well,
and maybe
I can
because
probably
with
tell
the
you why. because
tell.
this blue guy. Now, I as far as I know, he's a different type of alien that, as far as I know, we haven't seen before in Star Wars. But this assistant is an established race of aliens that have an established accent and an established way of doing things. We've got lore on them. That's
Yeah,
probably why, because you're
that's a
comparing.
big part of it.
Yes, because you're comparing this blue guy to what? Nothing. You ain't got nothing in Star Wars that's like him. So of course you're probably going to be more okay with it because it's not really something that's contradicting or sort of I guess messing with what we already have, as opposed to the Twi'lek guy, assistant dude, who would normally maybe have a different kind of accent or maybe some weird mannerism thing that would work with a Twi'lek. But no, it feels more like something you would see, like as you said, in real life, for us, it feels like we're being pulled into reality, our reality, as opposed to being taken out of it. So I feel like that's why that you feel that way, and maybe I'm wrong, but that's
No,
what
no,
I get.
you're making sense. I think also one little thing also that helps is that with the blue alien, that whole scene in The Mandalorian, because it just happened. It happened all. It was like right at the very beginning, kind of as it's like it's kind of like right, and it's so contained, in that moment. And I think it's easier to overlook too because it's like they also used it to kind of throw in the life date joke and kind of stuff where it's like it's clearly signaling like, yes, we know this is kind of a little bit incongruous with the rest of, but don't worry, we're aware of that. And then that was it. But and I think it also it worked too because he juxtaposed well with kind of the Mandalorian's demeanor and all of that. Whereas with this assistant guy, it's just we see him so much, and it's getting just kind of grating and distracting, and it's fine. Like it's it's like if you're going to kind of break the world, just do it very briefly and keep it very contained. But when it's just so constant, and you're always being reminded of it, it gets just. Ugh.
I hate that he's a
irritating.
regular character.
We might be only seeing him for one more episode.
I hope.
That would be
Oh, I
wonderful.
hope.
But I mean, the thing is, the one thing that we also have to remember is that maybe the characterization doesn't work with the accent. Because the thing is that the character of the assistant is going for a real sort of sniveling, what's the word I'm looking for? Sniveling underhandedness, and it might not be something that can come through with the accent.
Yeah.
Because the thing is that you do have that sort of situation of you try and portray emotions and situations, but when you then try and force it through an accent as well, it loses its effectiveness.
Yeah.
Where
I feel like there's also
at this present moment, whenever we've seen sort of Twi'lexes and all that, there hasn't been the characters have been pretty much for a lack of a better term, one note. And that's not being insulting to the characters. It's just sort of putting it as there's nothing that needs to be sort of they're sort of simple characters that to perform, even if the story doesn't have them being simple characters. That's sort of what I'm trying to get at.
I get that, but one thing, and I think here's another thing of why this all feels off, and because obviously not just because of where this fits chronologically, but just seeing so many kind of things that should be in that Return of the Jedi world, but I feel like there needs to be more menace, like atmospherically. It's like we're like Boba's constantly being told, "Oh, there's someone out to assassinate you," or "Oh, there's this threat out there. Oh, there's these people who are going to try and claim this territory." It's like we keep being told that there's supposed to be menace and something that we're supposed to be worried about, and yet when I'm watching this, it's like I don't feel the menace. Whereas like watching Return of the Jedi, one thing I really liked was just kind of like those, all those scenes on Tatooine, like especially in Jabba's palace, and it's like even though there's a goofiness still to those kinds of characters and Bib Fortuna and all these different creatures,
and the band.
There was still just there was just kind of just this darkness and menace to it still, and this kind of gravity to it that I'm not getting. It's like a little bit too light and goofy.
Even when the band was singing, you kind of sort of, if you were there, you'd be kind of sort of checking your blind spots, just in case.
Yeah.
I feel like that's missing. It's like I feel like we're being told, we're getting through the dialogue. Oh, scary things are coming, and it's like, I get that, I hear that, but it's like I'm not feeling like, I'm not feeling that. I'm not getting that vibe.
It almost feels like we're still in episode 1 and we're still waiting for the story to start.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because the thing is that, and actually this sort of goes back to, when we were talking about the first episode, it very much feels like there are 2 seasons being shoved into one season. So
I get that. I completely agree with that, actually.
It almost feels like the Book of Boba Fett should have started with the Tuskens, and that should have been a little bit more fleshed out before we got into the crime lord sort of situation.
In a way, actually, I think that it should have went the way it did, and then season 2 they flesh it out with those dreams if they wanted to incorporate the dreams that they were talking about.
No, but I would have gone the other way. I would have very much started the Book of Boba Fett with the Tusken Raiders, with everything leading up to the episode in Mandalorian.
Mm-hmm.
But even if you leave that the way it is, even if you leave the dreams placed the way they are now, it could work. The main issue with the crime lord thing is that they don't move forward. Whatever time they give that plot, they waste it on people talking about stuff that never happens, like the whole thing with
beating up Boba Fett.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with the twins was supposed to be like, oh, these people came and they're a big deal, and they show up in the streets with this black Wookiee, and yeah, visually it looks great that they feel menacing, and then nothing happens because they talk, and they all go their ways, and nothing else happens.
They'll passively aggressively threaten.
But yeah, no. But I mean, the thing is though, even if you weren't going to sort of split it up into 2 episodes, episodes 1, 2, and 3 should have been everything leading up to the episode in Mandalorian. So, how did he get out of the Sarlacc pit? Everything to do with the Tusken Raiders, leading up to the point that he gets his armor and equipment back. And then halfway through this season, you do that scene where he walks in and blows away Bib Fortuna, and then crime lord time. Because the thing is that we're still trying to sit back and trying to figure out how the Boba Fett that was told don't disintegrate anyone. How did we get from that Boba Fett to this Boba Fett that has killed one person? I think.
Yep.
But he killed him with an explosion.
And hey, the way he took him out, cool. But I mean, there's this big giant disconnect, and that's because they're breadcrumbing the Tusken scenes while trying to make him a crime lord in the other scenes.
Telling 2 stories like that has to be difficult. And difficult to pull off correctly. Let me put it that way.
And the Tusken scenes seem rich and meaty, but the crime lord scenes seem very anemic.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And and you know, we're meant to be excited by this. It just doesn't work.
I'm still waiting for the scene where all 3 of those factions that they spoke about in the last episode, I think it was 3, gather around a table and try to band together against the new twins that decide, hey, let's let's try to take back Jabba's territory after about 5 years, So I don't know. I feel like they could have done that in this episode. That they literally could have done that in the 3rd episode. They could have set that up in that 3rd episode instead of going with another assassination attempt right off the bat. They really should have done that. They really should have expanded on more on how Tatooine is being run. They did expand on it, but that was like near the end of the episode, and that's probably what we'll end up getting in the 4th episode. But I feel like they really should not have done that.
I mean, it's something that should have been done already. Not we're leading up to it.
Yeah.
So like I said, we're getting this rich, meaty story from the past.
Yep.
And because of it, we're kind of having this really anemic present story that just has too much dissonance in the storytelling.
Yeah. I feel like they're trying to pull a Halo 2, tell 2 stories with 2 different characters, because the Boba Fett from the Tusken Raider story feels like a different Boba Fett from what we're seeing in the current day Boba Fett.
Which feels like a different Boba Fett to the movie Boba Fett.
Yeah. Yeah, well, the movie Boba Fett felt like a menacing bounty hunter that didn't speak much. And then here we go with the new Boba Fett, who talks about his time slightly being a bounty hunter. And then here he is getting thrown around like a rag doll, as I've said, by a big Wookiee or a group of guys who somehow jumped him, and the 2 the two guards that were with them decide, hey, let's hang back for a minute. Let's let them think that they've got
Let's have
them,
lunch.
and then yeah. Now I think they were doing it just to look like they're heroes. Like, oh yeah, we're coming to save you guys. You couldn't do it without us. Yeah,
this will get us a pay raise, right?
What, you almost died? It can't be because we weren't there when we should have been. We saved you, remember? And when I said that, I almost sounded and thought of Rose Tico. I saved you, dummy.
and
really wish I
then the
didn't say it.
Gamorrean guards and Boba Fett kisses, something floats up in the background.
Fennec just gets exploded in the background. Oh my gosh! You don't win by fighting what you hate, but by saving what you love. And then Fennec blows up as they kiss. Fennec is really the one saving Boba Fett right now. Of
course she is. She's a woman.
No, I wouldn't hit that. Well, that seems a bit sort of demeaning to her character, I guess.
I mean,
no, her character is very cool, but what they're doing to Boba Fett isn't, and they're doing it intentionally, not an accident.
Yeah, but yet again, I don't think it's because.
It may or may not be because of that, but if it is because of that, then shame on them. Goodness, they shouldn't be doing that. Because it's also a disservice to her character, because they're having to bring somebody down for her to be better than them.
Yeah. No, because the thing is that we're constantly having him in the back to tank, so there's something wrong. It's not like he's, at his peak condition and getting his ass kicked. We're being told that something is up medically, and that's why he's getting his ass kicked.
But it's not just the fighting. There's also things like she speaks for him too often. I mean, it's one thing to help and to guide someone who doesn't get the way that he should be doing things, which I don't buy, because by this time he should know how these things work. But okay. And then
really should know.
There are scenes like the one with the guy they captured, and they wanted to make him talk, and they threw him in the Rancor pit. She pulled the lever. I mean, that doesn't look good for a crime lord. I mean, your second in command, being a man or a woman, is going to make these decisions for you in front of your enemies. That doesn't happen. You do that belonging to a mob, they kill you right on the spot.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Those kinds of things are demeaning to Boba Fett.
She shouldn't be making so many decisions for him. I mean, maybe it was just quick thinking on that part for her, and that would be okay. But if it weren't for like all the times that she has tried to tell Boba how the way things are, I feel like Boba, being on Tatooine as long as he has, should know a thing or two. I know that at the current point, it's like 5 or 6 years after Return of the Jedi. But I don't feel like things would have changed so much to where he doesn't know how things work when it comes to government and stuff like that, or not government, but with these crime lords and stuff like that. Because
even if you don't know the new rules, you should start with the ones you knew back then.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you already know how they operated by the time the guy fell in the pit, and now and I would start like doing things the way I remember they were done, not by saying I don't know a thing about it.
Yep. But I mean, as far as her character, it's not like they've done the worst with it. I agree and disagree slightly when it comes to how they've handled it. I do like how she's trying to be that voice of reason for him, but at the same time, she's doing it a little too much. I feel like Boba needs to stand on his own 2 feet a little bit.
Yeah, her character is great, and I would like to see more of her doing stunts and making decisions and acting like a second in command. That's perfect. The problem here is that they are using her to make him look less of a character, and I
And
really hate that.
I don't see that. I don't see that she is being used to make Boba Fett look lesser. I think it's just more of a case of
They didn't write Boba Fett well enough.
no, it's
Yeah,
just
maybe
sort
it's not
of,
intentional, but it happens.
yet again, it comes back to the whole 2 seasons in 1 season situation.
Yeah.
We currently don't know what Boba Fett's gone through to get to this point. So we don't know why. Well, I mean, why did he come back and take over Mos Espa? Why did he take Jabba's position? At this present moment, we're not really given that information.
We really
Mainly
should have a
because-
motivation.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
really
but I mean,
should.
but the thing is that we're not given it yet because I think it's meant to have come in those Tuscan parts. And we
I
really
bet
need to
you're
find a
right.
better
I never
word
thought
than
about
Tuscan
that.
parts. So the thing is that we're kind of sort of stuck with we're kind of stuck with what we're seeing, knowing that there's something behind it that we haven't seen, and because of that, it's making decisions look worse than they might not actually be.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
And yeah, so it's
I want to say that later on in the show, I'd say Boba Fett will be less of a pushover. I'm just banking on that to happen because so far
and I wouldn't be
seems
surprised
like
if
one.
that's actually correct. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the thing.
I mean, that's why we just got to keep watching and find out, I guess.
And this is a problem.
Mhm.
It's the same problem that they had with Bad Batch. But the only place it's not a problem is in the Mandalorian.
Yeah.
But it wasn't a problem in Rebels. It wasn't a problem in Mandalorian. It just seems like after the ending of season 2 and how that went absolutely nuts, they're kind of been sort of, we've got to have big things ending at the end of each season. So they're sort of like all playing their cards close to their chest type of situation.
Starting off slow and ending big. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. And this is kind of not a show that they should be doing that with.
No, it don't really feel like that kind of show that would have like this big, massive season finale. At least not for the first season.
I'm going to have to just go off mic for a second.
Okay.
So I'll be right back.
Okay. Well, for me, when I think about this show, I just think that Boba right now is a pushover. But I'm hoping that by the end of this, he is at his peak once again, or at least close to where he was before he went into the Sarlacc pit. I mean, I just don't like seeing a character like Boba Fett, who is supposed to be one of the most feared bounty hunters in the galaxy, constantly getting put on the ground. I
Yeah,
mean,
I don't like that either. I really hope that is the case, and I'm willing to keep watching the show despite episode three. Uh,
yeah,
I'm willing to give them a chance to show me something better than that. But
yep.
I really hope I'm wrong. I feel like Boba Fett is never going to take off. If you ask me at this point, my prediction for the, I think we're going to see more of this Boba Fett doing nothing. I really hope I'm not right about it because it's not fair for the character. The character deserves to really shine. I mean, why would you make a show about a character you're going to constantly show as incompetent? That doesn't make
Hmm.
sense.
So this can go like one of two ways. Then it could keep going the way it is, or it could be that they're trying to build up to Boba Fett becoming what he once was, one of the most feared bounty hunters. Well, not bounty hunter at this point now, but one of the most feared beings in the galaxy due to his abilities. So I'm assuming that by the end of this season, and I'm hoping that's how this goes. I mean, most likely it will be. I don't think that they'll disrespect his character because they know how well loved he is. Well, then I think about Luke
But,
Skywalker.
yeah,
Never
yeah.
mind.
The problem with that is that they have this trend now in Hollywood, and Disney seems to be very fond of it. That no one is a bad guy. Ah, yeah, that
Oh,
trend
that's
too.
true.
And if no one can be really a bad guy, if no one can be a villain, then the only way for this show to work with that in mind for them is to make him a nice guy. And he's not supposed to be that.
Yeah.
And people who are fans of the character who really like him, they like him because of what he is. It's not like they are hoping that someone like Disney is going to come and make him a good guy. They don't want that. It's like if we wanted Vader to be a good guy. We don't. Vader is cool because he's a bad guy.
Yep.
So
Exactly.
yeah, I really don't have very high hopes for Boba Fett to become this uh, this evil character, or at least this feared character, because I really see a lot of this. No one is a bad guy. They all have a motive, and they're just misunderstood. And it really feels like they're trying to rewrite Boba Fett into something else. Maybe not
See,
something bad, but something that is not true to the character.
yeah. Yeah, I get this trend, the understandable villain. Some take it so far as to make them seem less like a villain in the first place. Um, I want to say Cruella is a example. I mean, don't get me wrong. I enjoyed the movie Cruella because it was.
Didn't watch it.
You didn't watch it? Well,
No,
it's not
not
that
yet.
bad. It's not that bad. It's on Disney Plus if you have it. Just watch it on there, I guess. But it's not that bad. I enjoyed the movie. Emma Stone's one of my favorite actresses. That's probably why I enjoyed it so much. That that aside from that, um, as far as like trying to make everybody seem less like a villain, I think that movie is one of them that does that. Now, like I said, I enjoyed it, but it it might take away from what you would think the original Cruella was like. You might be like, "Oh, that's why she's like that," or um, you can be like, "That don't really feel like her because Cruella is this evil character that we see is just one of the worst people ever," you know. And some people might not like that they tried to make her seem more like a human, instead of just a villain. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, humanizing a villain can work if you do it right. It just sort of depends on how you do it. And as far as Boba Fett, he's more of an anti-hero at this point. He may have been a villain in the original trilogy, but they're building him up to be more of an anti-hero. At least that's what it looks like. I hope they don't build him up to be some sort of hero. Uh, I feel like making him an anti-hero is the best route for this show because I feel like that would suit his character. He does things, the way he wants to. He's not doing it for anybody else but himself, really. But if he does do something good, it's usually to benefit himself somewhat, but also maybe to gain respect from the people that he is trying to rule. So
At this point, I would even take the hero route as long as they make him look good, because right now he doesn't look good, and I really have a problem with that because, as you said, the guy's been thrown around and beaten, and he doesn't even fire his gun. It's like, what are you doing?
I mean, the gun feels like it's more for show at this point. It feels like it is the prop that it is, and not really
Yeah.
an actual
And-
weapon in the universe.
Yeah, but I mean, at this present moment, there really hasn't been a fight that it could have been used.
Well,
I mean, let's say the only two fights that we have him in was the assassin fight, at which point,
he didn't have that
frankly
weapon
was
at the time.
well, but even then, we are talking about the two fights that he's been in, and that's the assassin fight, which was more of a melee, and then the fight with I've forgotten
With
how
the
to pronounce
Wookiee.
the name now, with the Wookiee.
I can't
and-
pronounce it either.
and
Oh, okay,
and that
there you
was
go.
and obviously he didn't shoot the gun because it was yet again another melee, and he didn't have his equipment on.
Well, I
and-
feel like he went to grab for his wrist gauntlet thing. He went to grab for that. Why didn't he just grab for the blaster, turn around, and fire it instead of trying to put the gauntlet on?
Yeah, I was wondering the same.
Because
because
it would take less time to fire the gun than to put the gauntlet on.
because they wanted him to fight with the gaffy stick. I mean, let's face it.
Well, I mean, I get
And the
that
thing is
because
that
it looks
and
cool
you know
doing it.
and the thing is that you don't bring character in like that Wookiee and not have him join Boba Fett's side at some
He
point.
really should have joined. He really should have
And-
joined at the beginning.
I think you will.
and I do have to admit, it's sort of a little bit weird that he hired the bike gang
And didn't keep the Wookiee.
and didn't keep the Wookiee. It's just sort of like, dude, you've just been told that a war's coming to your front door, and you get rid of a Wookiee.
Who literally threw you around the room.
Yeah,
And the
yeah.
people that you hired.
He walked
and-
into the palace unnoticed. I mean, how the hell did that happen?
Oh, that's true.
and the thing
I didn't
is,
think about that.
and also,
How do you not
the twins-
notice that walking carpet like that?
yeah, I know. The twins gave the Wookiee to Boba Fett. So it's not like he needed to sort of convince, or he didn't even need to be sort of, you're
That's a-
mine now, so you work for me and you will protect me. He could
He should
still
have gave
sort
him a
of go.
choice.
He still could have gone, okay, yeah, you're free, but if you're looking for work, I'm hiring.
Yeah. There you go. That would have been amazing. I feel like there should be. I mean, if they're not going to have them join right off the bat, they should have one more fight between the two of them. But this time, instead of him sneaking up on Boba and his back to tank, Boba should be ready for it. And I'd like to see an actual fight with Boba wearing all his equipment, actually fighting the Wookiee instead of getting slung around.
Yeah,
That would be nice.
And it's kind of annoying because there's sort of like there's a really good show just under all the muck.
Yes.
Yep.
That's how it feels.
And if they could just remove the muck,
I'm going to be optimistic and say they will remove it. I'm going to be very
yeah,
optimistic.
but the thing is that there's only 6 episodes.
Is there really only 6? Or are you thinking of Obi-Wan? Obi-Wan's
might be
going to
thinking of
only have
Obi-Wan.
6. Yeah.
Okay.
This
well,
one I thought was going to be like The Mandalorian, have about maybe 8 or so.
But even then, we're 1/3 through the episodes.
That's true.
And you're kind of running out of time for removing the muck. And the thing is that we kind of said the exact same thing about Bad Batch, and yeah, they didn't remove the muck.
Well, maybe they've learned from Bad Batch, but it's hard to tell, especially right now. It's too early in the season, and where we don't get that many episodes anyway.
Actually, I do have to say this, and I will say this until the day I die. I would much rather what we're getting now from Favreau and everyone than any more of the sequel trilogy.
Oh, 100%. 100%. I completely agree. I'll take those colored speeder bikes all over.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
We might be spending a hell of a lot of time just batting these episodes around.
But you got.
But I would take I would take all of this over any of the sequel trilogy.
I mean, think about it. If you've watched the channel at all before and you've seen what we've talked about before, how many episodes have we spent just talking about the comparisons between the sequel trilogy and the other trilogies, or just anything related to the sequel trilogy? We've spent much more time on that, ranting about the sequel trilogy. Like, even if we're ranting about this right now, this is nothing compared to what the sequel trilogy has done. So, I mean, that's a testament right there that they've improved their quality in terms of writing and trying to sort of stay true to what Star Wars is, while also making something different. And see, this is a testing phase anyway. Like The Mandalorian was a test. This is practically a test, I'd say, of what they can do with their TV shows, because they've never done Star Wars TV shows like this before. It's sort of just a test. And once they get their footing, I bet that they'll start making some of the best Star Wars TV shows ever. At least I'm going to be very optimistic about that. I'm a very optimistic person, but I feel like once they finally figure out what works and what doesn't, I feel like they will possibly start running towards what is working and continue to make stuff that uses that, as opposed to, right now where they're sort of just putting their feet in the water, be like, okay, it's a little cold here, let's go over here. Oh, it's warmer here, let's try that. You know what I mean?
It's very much the same. Actually, that's probably. I'm getting sort of the same feeling that I got from the prequels.
Oh, really?
It might not be great, but it's still something crafted by a 5-star chef.
That's true.
So
it feels more like Star Wars than a lot of the stuff we've received lately anyway.
Yeah, it's one of those sort of situations of, you're eating it, you're eating the content, you're going, this is okay, but here are the problems. Where when it came to the sequel trilogy, you take a mouthful of that and you go, dear God, what have they done? And you start spitting it out. Yeah, exactly. Where everything that's sort of coming out from Favreau, well, sorry, I should say Favreau's team. It's take a mouthful and it's just like, yeah, but no, that's probably giving a little bit too much credit.
Sorry, I had to use it once.
No, perfectly understandable.
I mean, at least it's not this right here, you know.
Oh, they fly now! They fly now! They fly now!
Yeah, absolutely.
We've not gotten bad dialogue like that.
But I mean, the thing is that, you know, it's well intentioned. It's attempting to be well crafted. It might not be working.
Not as they intended, anyway.
Not as they intended. But in comparison to the sequel trilogy, it's the best meal that we've ever had type of situation.
So it's like you go to a 5-star restaurant, but the 5-star restaurant is really just an overrated eatery. So what they say is so good. What you've heard is so good. It really isn't that good. It's trash, really. Then you go to a lower restaurant that's like considered maybe about 3 or 2 star, but what they have is so much better than what you just had, and you're thinking that it feels more like a 5-star because what you just had was terrible. So
no.
Better.
To use that restaurant analogy, it's like going to a restaurant that's meant to be a 5-star restaurant, and you're given food that's made by primary school kids doing home ec for the first time. Yeah, that's the sequel trilogy. You know,
Okay.
we're meant to be going to a 5-star. We're meant to be going to a 5-star restaurant, and we're having food, you know, made by 6-year-olds that barely understand what cooking is. Yet somehow looks really pretty, but just the actual quality of the food is absolute crap. Where the next restaurant you go to, the restaurant might not be a 5-star restaurant. The chef's a 5-star restaurant, but the restaurant was created for the sole reason for the 5-star chef to make a whole lot of crazy stuff, you know, to test whatever jumps into his head type situation.
You're way better at making these analogies than I am.
So, you know, some meals come out, you take a mouthful and you go, dear God, what am I taking? Oh, this should be on a pedestal with holy light raining down upon it type of situation.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get dishes where you take a mouthful and you go, I see what they're doing. I see what he's trying. I just don't think it worked. But
yeah,
hey, you know, I came to this restaurant. I came to this restaurant to have what's the word I'm looking for? Inventive food that's a test. So of course, you know, you're gonna get a dish that just doesn't work. But you understand, you know, you can sit there and you can understand what he was trying to go for. And that's very much what the prequel trilogies were very much sort of like. You know, it was a 5-star chef really trying his best to just create something new and awesome, and it just didn't quite work. But because he did that, you know, you'd be able to sort of go, oh, I see where he's going with that. but he needed to add this, and I'm going to add this, and created something awesome from it.
Yeah.
And that's very much what I'm sort of getting from everything that's coming out of the Favreau camp. Is that, is that it there's parts of it that don't work, that seems a bit sort of wrong and out of place, but it's all experimental, and trying to get to a better place, and because of it, you're going to get some meals that are a little bit screwed.
Well, as for now I forgot what it was that I was about to say.
Sorry.
Dang it. No, it's okay. Like it left me just as I started talking. Oh man, I had it in my head too. I thought it was a good point anyway. Well, maybe if I continue to talk, you'll finally come back. But I think I remember. No, I don't. Dang it.
I guess sort of what Hatton, have you remembered?
No. I'll tell you if I remember.
Okay. I guess all that I'm sort of saying with this is that, unfortunately, we kind of sort of have to do this whole wait and see type of situation. Mainly because of where Star Wars was left after the sequel trilogies. And we're kind of gonna have to accept that.
I remember now.
We're gonna have to accept that Star Wars is currently in an experimental phase, and there are going to be stuff that doesn't work, and there's really not much that we can sort of do about it.
Well,
except sort of go, yeah, we like this, we don't like that, and making fun at the Power Rangers is a good way of doing it.
I've seen a lot of people say that this show is bad. I don't know if I'd go that as far as to say that. I feel like they're just being too picky at this point. I think they need to realize that we're in, like you said, an experimental phase. I can't even say words right now. An experimental phase right now with Star Wars. And I think they just need to realize that it's not going to be perfect. They're trying to figure out what fits and what don't.
I understand where they're coming from.
Mm-hmm.
Because
it is understandable.
Because the thing is that in a lot of cases they've just been burnt far beyond their ability to. I don't want to say they're far beyond their ability to cope, but yeah, that's unfortunately the best way of putting it. They've
another reason why
with the sequel trilogy, with what happened to Gina, they're just completely out.
Yeah, completely understandable.
Which is completely understandable.
They've owned the franchise since 2012. And they put their first movie out in 2015. You'd think that now we're in 2022. You'd think that after all this time, and this is why I understand why people think so negatively. You'd think that they would have learned something within that many years, from 10 years. It's been 10 years since George Lucas sold the franchise. You think within the 10 years that Disney has owned it, they would have learned something. And it seems like they've learned a little bit, but it's not enough to bring back these people that they burned once too many times.
And also the thing is that, you know, Disney are burning a lot more people than just the Star Wars fans.
Mm-hmm.
You hear some of the stuff that's coming out of Clownfish TV and what they're doing with the parks, and you just sort of like go, what the hell? And then there's all that crap that's happening with Marvel in both the comic books and the movies.
Now, I don't know about that. What's that?
Oh, the
I haven't been keeping up
MCU.
with that lately. Oh yeah, never mind. Never mind.
So you know, no, but I mean, you know, pretty much everything around that. And you can sort of understand why a lot of people have just gone, you know what? Screw all of this. And you know, that's absolutely perfectly reasonable, to be perfectly honest.
See,
and go.
For me, I don't like to be so pessimistic. So whenever something isn't as good as it should be, I don't call it bad, because there's things like the third episode. There are things about it that I do enjoy, despite us ranting about the Power Ranger bikes and all that stuff, or the speeder chase, how slow it was compared to the one in the second episode. Out of all that, there are things I enjoyed. There are things I liked about certain designs and stuff like that. There's just certain things that I can look at as a positive, even if I have been burned quite a few times by this franchise after Disney's ownership of it 10 years ago. I still want to hold out hope, and I know that not a lot of people are like me. They don't hold out hope as long as I do. They get burned once, they're done. Or maybe even twice. Me, you can burn me 10 times and I'd still probably look at it and be like, I might be okay if this goes on a little longer. Just give me something, okay? I'll just keep going and going until finally, maybe, possibly, I will, maybe 99.999% chance not give up, but I might give up with that little 0.0001% chance. That just shows how optimistic I am, I guess. But
yeah, and
I wouldn't go as far as to call the show bad. I don't think it's bad. I think it's not as good as it could be, and it's hard to put your finger on the reason, like to say this is why it's not succeeding. It's really hard because we don't know what the team behind it is set out to do. I mean, what's the end goal? We will probably know by the time the show ends. We will know what they were going for. Right now, we don't. So I'm willing to give them a chance to overlook the Power Ranger bikes and all that stuff. But yeah, as you say, it's not that hard to understand why so many people are really done trying to expect something of quality. Because the real problem is Star Wars comes with an expectation, because it's not some new franchise that popped up yesterday and brought us this. It has a history, and the people working there know that history. But we also know, and Saray just mentioned Clownfish TV, people like them have been calling out Disney for years for some very bad decisions they have been making. And in the Star Wars universe, we saw one of those very, very bad decisions when the whole Gina Carano thing happened. And that shows you, as a company, how far they're willing to go despite what everyone else is telling them, because they know, even if Twitter screams the loudest, and they really know how much of the audience is mad at them and how much of the audience will take whatever they throw. But even if they know, they're stubborn and they want the audience to like whatever they throw at them, regardless of the feedback, which is why what I was telling you before the streaming started. They really don't care about the feedback, because they know they can push and push, and they only stop when they reach a point where the audience really bails out. When they see
Like
the
with Solo.
money stop flowing, that's the only way they actually do something. So yeah, I mean, if Boba Fett's going to be a mediocre show, but it's going to have some good elements, I will take it. I, as a fan, will take it, regardless how much I make fun of certain things. But
Go Power Rangers!
yeah, but a lot of people are really done because they are more hardcore fans than I am. I mean, I follow a couple of them, and I see them talking about this, and I noticed in their voices, in the way they say things, they're really hurt by the company doing this to their franchise. Maybe I'm not that hurt, but they are. So they're like, no, I'm not going back. I'm not giving you another chance to disappoint me.
Yep. See, I reached a point a little while back that this might, if you knew me well enough before I did this, you'd be like, oh, he'd never do this. Well, the thing that I'm talking about is considering the sequel trilogy not canon. I always believed that if it was put out by the creator, it is, canon, and where, George Lucas
It's
doesn't
not
own
canon.
it anymore. It's not George Lucas. But the thing is, the ones creating it now are the technical owners of it. So I would, even though I didn't like it, the sequel trilogy was canon. Well, the one day that I, this has been a little while back, and I'm sure I've said this before. But when I read Heir to the Empire, that officially made my decision for me. I'm like, the sequels are no longer canon, because when I read what could have been, and then think about what we got, the hope that I told you guys, that little 0.1 or that 0.00001%, that happened. I lost hope for the sequel trilogy. I decided I didn't want to consider it canon anymore. And that's very hard to make me do something like that, especially for a franchise I love so much. But when I saw what we could have gotten, like, they could have made movie adaptations for those books, or even made something afterward, because the actors were getting older. They may not have wanted to make movies based off of those stories because they take place so close to the original trilogy. They have to find somebody or de-age them or something like that. They'd have to do something. Don't pull a CGI Luke the way they did in the last episode of The Mandalorian. It was amazing, but the face was sort of off-putting, tiny bit. We're not going back into that discussion, though. We discussed that.
It was good. It was good enough.
We're grateful we got
It was
Luke.
good enough. I was just thankful for what we got. I do admit that face did off-put me a little bit, but I feel like
Hurry up and get Sebastian Stan before he gets too old.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you do make a Luke Skywalker show, then Sebastian Stan better be the one doing it, because I can see him as Luke Skywalker. It really does seem to work, and maybe the voice not so much, but then again, he's an actor. He can probably do something,
I think he can pull it off. He's likable, and he was the only reason I stuck with Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I mean,
yes, I know, right? I didn't like Falcon and the Winter Soldier. It started off pretty good, but then it just. We're not going into that. We'll talk about that later. this is the point is that we're talking about.
No, but the point is that the guy really carried his character, and it was enough for people to keep watching because they like him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And I feel like they didn't do enough with him. They really should have done more. But anyways, back to what we were saying. After I had seen what we could have gotten, and yes, they could have maybe made some sort of adaptation with Sebastian Stan being Luke. or any, and maybe found other actors that would resemble the original trilogy characters like Leia and Han as well. Not the guy that played Solo in the movie Solo, because I really don't like his actor playing Solo because he doesn't have any resembling features. Though he did get the acting part right. He did act like Han Solo, but that's it's one thing to just act like him. I feel like you need to have some similarity to the character in terms of like the face. And I know there's an actor that does it. I think his name is Anthony Ingruber or something like that. I'm probably pronouncing his last name wrong.
He looks like a young Harrison Ford.
Yes, you know who I'm talking about then, right?
Nope.
No. Okay. Well, he did play a younger Harrison Ford's character. I don't know what character it was, but he did play a younger version of one of his characters in a movie because he looked and acted so much like Harrison Ford. He can practically be an impersonator of Harrison Ford. They really should have gotten him to play Han Solo. And I feel like if they wanted to, they still could, but I don't think they will. I don't know why. Everybody else wanted him to play Han Solo. I don't know why they didn't get him. Anyways, all they would have to do is find actors that resemble the original trilogy characters and use them to create these adaptations to those books. I know what they were trying to go for because they're like, yeah, well, that's the previous lore. We don't want everybody to expect or we don't want to show them something that they're going to be expecting, and I'm talking about story wise because
we definitely didn't expect the sequel trilogy.
No, we really didn't. But what I mean by getting something they didn't expect is more like, well, they already know the story, so let's just change the lore. And I don't think they should have done that, to be honest. I mean, yeah, I think the original lore, I know there was problems with it, and it did contradict itself at times. Even Star Wars: The Clone Wars, sadly enough, did contradict some of the EU that we had for Disney took over. So yes, there was some story issues with the EU, but I feel like they could take what the EU had, take what was best of it, and then make a new EU using what we already had instead of trying to go a completely different. It's like you got three different directions. You got going straight, that would mean going exactly the way the original EU was, and then you got maybe 30 degrees to the left, and then you got a literal U-turn. They took the U-turn. They didn't take the 30-degree left direction. No, they took the U-turn, and they wanted to go completely different. And I think that's where they failed. But it is what it is. It's a lot like Halo. How 343 Industries took Halo and they wanted to go a completely different direction with it, made it play a lot like Call of Duty when it comes to the multiplayer. They changed the art style so it didn't really look like Halo. But the thing is, 343 ended up listening after the second game, and now we got Halo Infinite, which is much more faithful to the original Halo games. Now, here comes Lucasfilm, who pulls off the same thing. Halo 5 was the Last Jedi for Halo. Well, the Last Jedi for Disney, was also what almost
The Last Jedi
broke. Well, I was going a little bit of a different direction than that, but it's what almost broke the franchise. Halo 5 nearly broke Halo's franchise and broke a lot of trust with 343. Well, The Last Jedi did the same thing for Star Wars. I used to make a lot of comparisons between the two because they were both going through a very similar phase. A new company owns the title, and they're trying to make their own thing with it. Well, it's got an established fan base, an established lore. Now, I will say, I don't think 343 decanonized any of the lore. They just wanted to go a different direction. But that's the thing with Star Wars. Disney went a completely different direction and decanonized a lot of the lore, except for all the visual media. Now, the problem is with Lucasfilm is that they're not as transparent with their decisions. They're not as open-minded as 343. If you look at 343 Industries now, they are being very transparent with their community. They're being very open about their decisions, and they're taking feedback. Lucasfilm ain't doing that. That's the problem here. They're not like, oh well, we know we messed up with this, so we are going to try something different. And if you guys have any suggestions on what we should do, by all means, we want feedback. That ain't happening. Not with Lucasfilm. They know what's best for the franchise. They own it, so therefore they know what's
Watch
best.
what we're making, bigots.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They need to take a lesson from 343 Industries when it comes to trying to win back their fan base, because 343 understands, as far as I can tell, what their fan base really means to their franchise, which is why they stopped going in the weird direction they were going with Halo 4 and 5. That includes with the art style and the gameplay. And they decided, you know what? Everybody has made their points clear. They want the old art style. They want the old feel of the Halo games, but we also want to innovate and make it our own. So how about we go with semi-open world, add a different mechanic to the campaign, or a different few mechanics to the campaign, but let's try to recreate some of that feeling that the old ones gave, and it really excelled when it came to doing that. When it comes to Lucasfilm, oh, here's the Star Wars logo. Okay, now here's something totally different, but it's got the Star Wars logo on it. There you go.
Consume product, get excited for next product.
And that's what the problem has been for Lucasfilm. They know better than the people that they are selling their products for. If
that's what they believe.
Yeah. Well, that's what they believe. If they really cared about this franchise, you'd think they would listen to the people that fund them, the people that spend money on them, the people that like myself would have went and bought countless figurines for, let's say, the Book of Boba Fett. I don't know exactly how to explain all that, but it's changed a lot, and these people don't seem to understand. Like Lucasfilm, George Lucas knew how to sell merchandise. He sold tons of toys for Star Wars, and then here's Lucasfilm currently. You can't hardly find a single collectible, not even a toy. You can, and what they do have is low quality, poorly made. It's just no good. Their marketing's terrible. So they really need to try to up their game, just like 343 has, which I'm not going to say Halo Infinite doesn't have its issues. It does, but they have been listening, and they are improving it as time goes on. It'll take time, but at least they're putting more effort into helping the fan base change rather than
playing the campaign.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I played the campaign and I love it.
No, I mean like issues like not being able to replay the missions on campaign.
Oh, you said. Oh, I misunderstood everything you just said. Okay, yeah. Issues like that. I don't know why that wasn't in the game in the beginning, but they plan on putting it in. I mean, there's so many issues I can mention about Halo Infinite, but that doesn't make me hate it. It's stuff that they say they're going to fix or they're going to add. You can argue, yes, it should have been there. I mean, they've had how long? 6 years about it to develop this game. You'd think, oh, well, they should have had this at the launch. And that's a very good argument. But they don't. That's just the reality of it. So you got to think, well, At least they didn't throw out another Halo 5 where the campaign was terrible. And the multiplayer wasn't that bad. The multiplayer wasn't that bad, but I personally really like Halo Infinite's multiplayer much better. The Halo 5 multiplayer was too not complex, but there was too many what's the word for it? Advanced movement type of mechanics. Ground pound, shoulder charge, thrusting from left to right, forward to back, hovering in the air, clambering. Like they had all these features that you can use all at once. And it becomes
Sounds like they were playing
overwhelming.
too much Destiny too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not as bad as Destiny 2 because it's not all at once. You don't have to shoulder charge. Not all the characters shoulder charge. They don't. Not all of them do a ground pound. Like you can shoulder charge and ground pound probably in the same movement if you wanted to. Shoulder charge off of off the side of a ledge or something like that, and then while you're in the air, hold the melee button and look wherever you want to. You can ground pound straight down to wherever. So there's so many different things you can do at once. It's insane. And plus shoulder charge on every character. Just imagine playing with nothing but Titans on Destiny that have shoulder charge. But
So
there's no
in
cooldown.
other words, Crucible.
But there's no cooldown. You just have to sprint fast enough, and boom, you got shoulder charge back.
Oh, so everyone using Helm of.
I know what you're
what's
talking
the
about,
hell
and
called?
yes, I can't remember the name of it because I've not played Destiny in a while. But yes, that's exactly what it is.
And unfortunately, I'm not a Titan main, so I don't know the.
Yeah,
The,
but just imagine that, but with more advanced movements. There is no
Yikes.
cooldown for any of it. Well, the thrust, there is a cooldown, but it's not a big cooldown. It's like 2 seconds or so. So you can't just continuously thrust all over the place. But
So in other words, Halo, what was it, 5?
yeah,
Halo 5 turned into Mayhem, but with Titans only.
yeah,
With Arc Titans only.
yeah, exactly.
Thunder
And
Crash.
no cooldown on the shoulder charge. And Thunder Crash, yes. There's no cooldown on the ground pound. All you have to do is jump in the air, look down, and hold your melee button, and you can aim wherever you want to. Ground pound. Though I will say,
in other words,
ground
Mayhem.
yeah, mayhem. But I will say,
You
ground
do
pound
remember that
wasn't
game
that
mode,
bad
right?
compared to. Yeah, I do remember that game mode. I do.
Yeah.
I remember that one. But ground pound wasn't as bad as shoulder charge. Everybody, as long as they were sprinting at their top speed, they can shoulder charge anytime they want, and it don't take long to do that. So just imagine all that.
Bungie actually nerfed that.
Finally, the game's been out for how long, and they just now finally nerf shoulder charging.
Oh, it's actually getting better next season.
Oh, really?
Well, next season is new expansion.
Oh, that's right. Oh my gosh, that's right.
And they've changed. What is it? Changed. Oh yeah, that's right. They're changing the Void subclass to the stasis type mechanics.
Oh, really? Oh, that's awesome.
So Void Titans are getting an extended melee.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh no.
But then again, so are warlocks, and
Yes,
I've got
there we
no
go.
problem with that.
I'm a warlock main, so that's good news for me.
Titans get to throw a void shield, and warlocks throw a void bolt, a bit like an axiom bolt.
Nice.
I just don't think it tracks But then again, there could be an aspect where it can track. So,
Wait a minute. We're on Destiny now, and where were we? We need to get back on track.
you were talking about Halo.
I was talking about Halo. This is my fault. This is all my fault. But I was trying to make a comparison. Anyways, that's the difference between 343 and Lucasfilm, is that 343 is listening much more than Lucasfilm is, and they're actually trying to keep their fan base happy while also trying to please their new fan base that they had won with the games that they created with, their art styles and their gameplay. So they're trying to please both, and it seems that they're doing a pretty good job. Now, I've also mentioned that yes, there are issues, but they're listening and trying to fix it. That's the difference between Lucasfilm. They're not listening to us. They're not trying to fix what they're doing. There are
And
some
Bungie's
that
trying
are
to do something in the middle.
Oh, really?
No, I don't. Sort of.
Well, there are some in Lucasfilm, like Jon Favreau, who's trying to give us something more familiar, something better than what the sequel trilogies ever could have been. I mean, under the leadership of the time, which is still the current leadership, but they seem to be less involved. And then again, I could be completely wrong about that. They might be just as involved, but the problem is they know what they're doing wrong and what they're doing right at this point, and they're trying to stay away a little bit, but also trying to incorporate a little bit of what they were before, but not as they're trying to do it subtly. Anyways, Lucasfilm isn't fully listening. There's only a few that really want to give us something that we'll enjoy, and I think the Book of Boba Fett is sort of what we get from that. The Mandalorian, the Book of Boba Fett, the Bad Batch, they may not be perfect, but they are so much better than what the sequel trilogies ever were. So,
I think that the other problem they face, specifically the Book of Boba Fett, is that when The Mandalorian was being produced, it was the only show they were working on. And
that's true.
And the goal, obviously, of that show was to bring back the people.
Mm-hmm.
And you can tell in the way it was made and how much money they threw at it. And But also another problem is that right now, Disney Plus is struggling to keep subscribers because they don't have any content. And Star Wars is despite all the damage done to the brand, it still brings people in. So they announce all these shows, and they back themselves into a corner because now they have to produce them faster than they thought, because people are expecting it.
And they don't have enough teams to do it.
Yeah.
Because I mean, frankly, there's really only one team that has so far produced results, and that's Favreau and Filoni.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the rate that they're spitting out content, it's really sort of not. I don't think they're really giving themselves enough time to really craft the material to perfection.
Yeah.
Yeah, we won't get Mandalorian quality levels here because it's just not possible with the conditions they're working on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I think this is a good place to wrap it up, to be honest, because I do have to get ready to go in just a few minutes. I gotta take care of something. But
snow?
Huh?
You're going to shovel some more snow?
Yeah, I'm going to go out there and shovel those 9 inches that we were probably receiving. I don't know. I hope not. I really hope not. Hey, let me tell you. When it snowed and I was getting ready to go. No, wait, how long ago was this? It wasn't that long ago, but it had froze ice on my vehicle, and I think this was before the big snow because there was I think we had a light snow or something like that before that, and it froze everything on my car. Now the little ice scraper I had, it broke, and so I had to let's see, I had to find something. I had to use the broken part of it to scrape off what was left, just so I can see a little bit. And actually, this wasn't a light snow because there was a bunch of snow all over my vehicle. Now that I think about it,
did you get that scraper from work? Did you?
I did actually.
Well, there's your mistake.
Well, it wasn't exactly from my job though. Like it was given to me up there, but it was from a different company. They were giving them away at the time, and they were giving away a couple things with it, not just that. And for a while it actually worked good, but I guess maybe where I hadn't used it in a while, but the ice was so thick on my windshield, I could not get it off. And it was so difficult, even with the broken piece of my or even when it wasn't broken, it wasn't hardly getting it off that well. So I was running late for work, and not to mention, I didn't have gas to warm up my car, so I had to try to drive up there with low fuel. I'd forgotten to get gas in my car. This is showing you how bad that week was for me. I couldn't get into my vehicle for the longest time because if you know how a Camaro's door works, there's the window, the driver's side window, and the passenger side, but the window has to lower itself a little bit so you can open the door. Since there's no, it's just the window, no frame above the window.
Okay.
It's literally just okay. So the window has to lower so you can open the door. Well, the window was frozen and it would not lower, so I couldn't just pull the door open. Otherwise, I would bust my driver's side window. So I had to mess with that a little bit, try to scrape off enough of the ice to hopefully let the window lower down. Took me forever, but I finally did it. I got some hot water, and I think that's really what did it, because I had to go inside after the scraper broke, and I couldn't get any more off with the scraper.
From memory, you shouldn't use hot water.
Well, you know what? I was running late and I wasn't thinking. I was half asleep. It's 6 a.m.
Okay, yeah, that's a little bit more explainable.
Yeah, and so I used hot water. I melted off a lot of the snow. I didn't really think about what would happen next, though. So I'll speed through that whole process. And let's just say now I'm at work. I'm still low fuel, but I had enough to get to work, and I knew I would be able to get gas on my lunch. So, that's what I ended up doing. But I got to work, and I couldn't get out of my car because my car froze back up on the way up to work. So I was even later than I meant to be. I think I might have gotten there semi on time, but I was even later because I was stuck in my car. I called my mom because I thought maybe she'd be able to come up here and help me get out of my car because I could not get out of my car.
Shay, you're late. Why are you late? Sorry, sir, I got stuck in my car because it froze. Oh.
Well,
I can totally hear you saying, technically I wasn't. I was stuck in the car in the parking lot.
Exactly. I was literally just about to say that. I technically was in the parking lot. I just couldn't get out of my car. It froze on the way up to work. So
actually, I would have loved to have heard the phone call. Yeah. Sorry, boss. I'm running a bit late. Why are you running late? I'm stuck in the car park because my car's frozen over.
I've locked myself in my car, but with ice and not actually locking my door. My car is literally locking me in with ice. I can't open it. My door won't open. It froze my window, so my window wouldn't lower. So I had to push on my door a little bit, and at times I would hear the mechanics of my window trying to lower when I pushed it open a little bit. So I kept doing that, but not hard enough to where it would push the door out, Eventually, maybe about 5 minutes into doing it, it finally broke the ice free and it lowered. So I was able to go into work. I was like maybe 20 minutes late, but I was finally able to go to work. Well, it's cold that day, and I go on my break 2 hours, after I show up. You get a break. I go out to my car because that's usually where I go to take my breaks. My car was frozen again. I couldn't get into my car, and it was freezing outside. And you might ask, why didn't I just go back in? Well, because I was at my car and I didn't like the break room in the building. So I'm going to try to open my car. So I spend like most of my break trying to get back into my car. I sit in my car for a little bit and then I get out. I was surprised I was able to get out. It didn't.
I was just about to say that.
And by lunchtime, all the ice was melted. The sun was out. It heated up some. So that's the end of my adventure with the ice. But I'm telling you, it's not been good for me lately.
Yeah, maybe not get a car that's really weirdly designed. Yeah, just a thought.
Look, I didn't think about this when I bought the car, okay?
Let me guess. The only thing you were thinking was, ooh, pretty car.
Hey, to be fair, I had always wanted one of those cars. Maybe not the model I got, but I had always wanted that make. And that's the one I wanted so badly. And when I had the chance to get it, I jumped on the chance and got it. Now, I didn't think about what some of the consequences would be, I guess, but I've made it 3, maybe almost 4 years with it. And it'll probably be about 4 years this year, actually, starting, I think, in June. I think I got the car the same day they announced the final season of Star Wars: The Clone Wars, if I'm not mistaken. So that's a very memorable day for me.
See, this is why This is why I'm happy that I really never got into cars. For me, it's just sort of like, does it turn on? Does it go forward? Do I need to worry about anything falling apart or falling off while I'm driving? Yes, no, great.
Okay,
I'll take that one.
I'll tell you this
On a
much.
video. That would be a hell of a tutorial.
Yeah. Well, I was going up to get my car the same day I found out that they had announced season 7 of Star Wars: The Clone Wars, and that's been quite a few years ago. So, I remember that day quite well. That was in the summer of what year was it? 2017? No, 2018. It's summer of 2018, and I was going up there to get my car. I didn't think about any of that stuff. And
you should send a picture of the car to a Discord.
I should. It looked so much better years ago when a certain person I know didn't bump into it twice. No, 3 times actually.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
And you still know this person?
Yes, I still know this person. I love this person to death, but man,
You must, because that otherwise I don't see that happening.
No, 2 times. Sorry, it was 2 times. No, somebody at a Steak and Shake down here. I don't know if you know what Steak and Shake is. Sorry,
Nope.
then again, okay. Well, for those of you that don't, it's a restaurant. It's pretty nice.
You don't say.
Well, anyway, it was on a Saturday. I was off work. I go out to Steak and Shake. I come back home, and then I had to go out again. And it was late at night, but I turned the porch light on, and I can tell there's something different about the front end of my car. And there's like this huge fist-sized, well, maybe a little smaller than fist size, maybe child fist size, I don't know, dent in the fender. I don't know how I got it. I assume it was up there at Steak and Shake and somebody hit my car and ran and didn't, I didn't notice it when I came home. But when I went back out and went to look at my car, because it was in the driveway, I had to walk towards the front end of my car because I pulled it in forward and I didn't back it in. I see the front end of my car, and the first thing I notice is the fender. And I'm like, what the heck? What's going on with my fender? I get closer, I look at it. There is a big dent right in the side of the fender. And I'm like, where did this come from? It's been sitting in my driveway. Well, to be fair, though, the other 2 times it's been hit was in our driveway. But that's the point. They weren't here to hit it that time. Let me put it that way. It was just in the driveway. So it had to happen when they weren't around. And it probably had to happen up there at the Steak and Shake that I was at. And that's the only conclusion I got. That was on a Saturday. I remember this very well. So my car might not look brand new, but I will send you a picture of it in the Discord. I might, if I can find an old picture of it before it was hit, I'll show you. But I've done some upgrading to the car.
One question that I sort of need to ask.
Okay, go ahead.
What does this have to do with Star Wars?
It has nothing to do with Star Wars. I was getting ready to end the stream, and then we got talking about the weather, and then you guys wanted to see my vehicle in the Discord. By the way, quick plug. We got a Discord. It's in the description. Join it. It's fun. We also have a few other links down there. One for our Twitch.
Memes about sand.
Yes, we meme about sand and dead children.
And starting today, we're going to meme about the Power Rangers.
Yeah, now it's going to be Power Rangers related, and Hauser's hair, of course. For anybody that's been with the channel long enough, Hauser's hair is one of my favorite things to talk about. I have a whole chat room dedicated to Hauser's hair, but due to the fact that there's not that many people in the Discord yet, we can't have a full discussion with a bunch of people about Hauser's beautiful, beautiful hair. So if you want to help me with that, join the Discord, please. I want to talk about some hair, Hauser's specifically.
That came out so wrong.
It probably did. I'm bad for.
That's kind of your superpower.
Oh gosh. Well, anyways, back to what I was saying. I will send a couple images of my car to the Discord. I have done some upgrades to my car. I've changed. It's a V6. I got it used. So I wanted it to sound more like a V8 as best I could, because me working the job I do, I can't afford a V8 version of that car.
Try to take a picture. If it freezes again, try to take a picture. So we can see the frozen car.
I think I have a couple pictures of it frozen from a couple other ice storms that we've had.
The driving ice cube.
It literally was an ice cube that I was driving in one day. I can't remember how that went, but I was driving a literal ice cube to work. It was completely covered. And it was the other day too. There was snow all over my car. I had to drive it like that all the way up there. So it was an ice cube 2 times since I've drove it that I remember, and I had to drive it to work like that.
But that wouldn't happen with a ponton.
That's true. Instead, they'd fall over dead, and I'd have to cut their insides open so I can stay warm. But Tauntauns are probably cheaper than what I got, so I can probably just buy another one. But yeah, I'll send you a couple pictures of those in the Discord. I'll have to find. I got so many pictures on my phone. Anyways, I think that we're going to end the stream talking about my car being an ice cube and killing Tauntauns. That's a typical stream here at the Force Collective.
Yes, something's dying from some way.
Yeah, if it's
usually children.
I don't know if you heard that. If we're talking,
I did. I'm hoping the audience didn't.
Oh, well, I said it a second time so they would hear it. So, let's end the stream right there. All right. Well, if y'all enjoyed, please leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe if you want to. We stream every week, Thursday on Thursdays. I usually tweet it out on my Twitter. There's a link to my Twitter in the description. Join the Discord. You can watch us on Twitch every once in a while. I'll also post that on our Twitter whenever we do that. But yeah, that's about it. So we're gonna go now because this is a great way to end the first stream of the year. Yay, 2022. Child murder. All right. Well, we're going. So may the force be with you, and we'll see you again next time.
Sector.